Hey, hey! Welcome to the We Hack Purple podcast, where usually each week we meet a different member of the information security industry to talk to them about their super cool jobs. We had a really big miscommunication with our guest this week and they can't make it. And so if you're really hoping to talk to that person, I'm sorry, but sometimes that's luck. But I wanted to share a couple extra things with you and then hold an Ask Me Anything session. So if any of you have some application security questions or cybersecurity questions, if you want to put them in the chat, I'm just going to answer them until we run out. But first, I want to make fun of my website. So if we could bring the website up on the screen, there we go. So I have commissioned a company to make me a new website, and point blank, it's beautiful. It is way better than our current website, wehackpurple.com, which I made myself over a weekend when I was in a bad mood after firing a contractor who I had hired and not had good luck with. Our project had been 5 months behind and I was just like, forget it, I'm just gonna throw something together, and that is what wehackpurple.com is. I kid you not, I just found an HTML5 template and I was like, good enough, let's give her. And because HTML5 is dumb, I didn't need to do any security testing. I didn't take advantage of any of the fancy HTML5 things that it can do, all the features, etc. I just made a dumb flat website that does nothing and then linked out to a bunch of super cool SaaS products that We Hack Purple uses to provide our academy, our community, our newsletter, and also our swag shop. But as you can see now, this website is smart. So this website is built in WordPress, and I immediately was like, I don't know, WordPress, it has such a bad rep in the security industry. But that's old WordPress, not new WordPress. So back in the day, yes, on average, people would have tons and tons and tons of different plugins, and some of the plugins that they would choose were not updated, not very secure, etc. And so a lot of web pages got broken into through the plugins, and I was aware of that. Also previously, lots of people just didn't ever update WordPress, so a vulnerability would be found. The WordPress team would work really hard to fix it, but then no one would update. So now you can have it auto update and all sorts of fancy pants stuff. There's also now all sorts of companies making cool WordPress plugins to help you with your security. Yes. So obviously I wanted to get one of those. So let me give you a tour, a sneak peek of the soon to be live We Hack Purple website. And then I'm going to tell you things that are wrong with it, which is why it's not live yet. And then, so don't go to it because I realize that the URL is in the video. However, it's just a copy. It's just a demo. This is the demo for me, the QA as the user. So you land on the We Hack Purple webpage, and the first thing that you see is this sliding bar. It's beautiful. So you see the academy, and then you see the community, you see the podcast, that's us. Then you see the swag store. And lastly, the newsletter. Oh, you know what? I forgot something really important. I wanted to thank our sponsor, ThreadFix. Thank you, ThreadFix, for sponsoring us. Thank you for Denim Group. They have been 24/7 awesome with We Hack Purple. And you might not be aware, but they just sponsored yet another diversity scholarship. Yes, thank you. Okay, but back to the matter of making fun of my own website. So if we scroll down a bit more, you can see Join the Purple Revolution. I had a bunch of characters all designed. I've had like a graphic designer doing fancy stuff, a web designer, all sorts of fancy things. I am awful at this. Visual displays of things is not my jam. So I hired professionals that know what the heck they're doing. And this looks really great. So then we have the Academy where you could see a bunch of our courses. As you know, we are currently working on a brand new course, Secure Coding. We just finished all the videos for Talking Head, as I like to call it. So that's where I'm standing or walking and then speaking directly to the screen, where I break the third wall or whatever it's called in television. And then I'm about to start doing all of the exercises and kind of like the me in the small corner with just lots of code and stuff video. And I am super excited about that. So then we scroll more, there's the We Hack Purple community. I love these. Look at the little heroes again. See how they come out? Anyway, they're already up, but I really liked that. I like the idea of security people are kind of like superheroes. We are protecting the internet, and I think that's great. So you can join the community, and then there's the podcast. There's V, she's my friend. There's Sasha, that's my friend. There's me being a dweeb in the middle. So at the bottom it says join our newsletter, you won't regret it. I really hope that's true. I have an intern. She's amazing. She's totally amazing, and she's been working so hard to make our newsletter awesome. Personally, I think she's done a fantastic job. She's just been out of this world awesome. If you're listening, Lillian, A+. And then there's a blog, and I am going to start blogging here instead of medium.com, which charges people, and I don't really like that, and also dev.to. I think the dev.to people are actually really awesome. I actually had a chance to meet some of the core team, and they were great. They're super concerned about security, which I have to tell you I quite like. But I kind of want to have my own blog on my own site instead of off on someone else's site. So that's part of why we chose WordPress as our technology. So then at the bottom, you have this fancy thing. We have like a copyright. In Canada, you can just say copyright and then it's yours. I enjoy that. You might not be aware that We Hack Purple is the common name of our company. The legal name is Janca Enterprises Incorporated, which I have to say is really dull. That wouldn't be good for marketing, but it does make it clear that it's probably me because there aren't very many Jancas. I'm going to see if there's questions in the chat. Oh, thank you, Nancy. Oh, thank you, Kellen. And then, yes, the cheese question is important, and I will answer the cheese question at some point. So I want to show you a few more things. So if we click on the Academy, it just brings us over to our current Academy. So we transferred over to this months ago. Because of the pandemic, a whole bunch of things got delayed with this project. We're working with a company from India because quite frankly, like the head of that company is like besties with one of my friends that I really like. And he's like, this dude's awesome. And like, it's beautiful. Like clearly he did a great job. But COVID has made a lot of things complex and delayed a lot of stuff. So then there's our beautiful community, which you can see all sorts of parts of. So you might not have been in the community before. I probably shouldn't show you people's messages. But basically, like, there's all sorts of events and topics. So we have like a really nice event calendar with lots of cool stuff. I'm going to be going to this on Sunday with Clint. Yeah. We have different topics. We have different professions. We have different channels. Anyway, this is the Academy. I'm super biased. I think it's awesome. The community. It is my favorite place on the internet. So then we have the podcast page, which like I think is awesome. So this is our guest that we're currently rescheduling, Aodell. She's a data scientist. She's so cool. We actually had Swathi on already and we had Annie on already, and both of them were totally amazing. I don't know if you remember their episodes, but both of them were totally awesome. And this is the episode we're supposed to be doing right now. But again, some miscommunications, and sometimes that's life. And then you can see every single past episode that we've ever had with all these incredible human beings. Like it just goes on and of awesome. And then you click more podcasts and you can see even more. So that's cool. You can see our Shopify shop where you can buy super cute swag, which is, so I'm actually wearing this t-shirt right now. I'm wearing the She Hacks Purple t-shirt right now. Ba-ba! We have socks now, but you know, the actual thing that we're selling the most of is the femme hoodie. We've sold by far the most of that. Of anything on here, the femme hoodie. Also, the She Hacks purple t-shirts have sold the best. Not we, but she. Yes. I have to say, I'm loving it. So yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff. And then there are the blogs. I am the most excited for the blog section. There's going to be a whole bunch of blogs here because I am slowly going to transfer over old blogs to here and then get rid of my original blog. And also, like, I've been dying to release new content, but I've been waiting specifically so that we could do this, and then the pandemic, and then people aren't allowed going here and there, and it's just been, there's been problems. We've added this cute part called testimonials. So we actually have so many testimonials. Like, we have tons and tons, like we have pages and pages. So we're starting with this. I'm just going to keep adding them and adding them. People keep giving us reviews and stuff. Thank you. Every time you review my book, every time you review our course, every time you review our podcast, it helps me so much. It helps me find amazing sponsors like Threadfix. We have a bunch of cool new sponsors coming up that are different and new. So we've had a long-term relationship with Threadfix, and we plan to continue that in many ways. But they're like, why don't you try getting even more sponsors and charge more money? Well, that is friendship. If I tell you anything, that is friendship. Okay, so we have tons and tons and tons of testimonials. Then we have an about section where I talked about us, and then I had to talk about me. And I was just like, I'm a giant nerd on the internet. What do you want from me? And then, so this is the page that I'm sort of the most excited about for you and everyone else. And this is the frequently asked questions page. So you might be thinking like, oh, like facts are boring. I made a special video for almost every single question. So I totally am enjoying the still of my face here. I look very silly. I am really good at making fun of myself. I'm better at it than most people. And so we actually go through a whole ton of stuff. So like, some of the things that I just get such common questions about. So what is Cyber Mentoring Monday? How can I be involved? How can I be a good mentor? So I just detail everything about it for you. So you no longer have to kind of search on the internet and figure it out yourself. I was just like, why don't I just tell everyone about WOSEC? Why don't I just tell everyone about Alice and Bob? Like, why make them search all over the internet? Why not just make it, easy? So the last one is one that I have wanted to tell people for a long time. Are you willing to volunteer or just answer a few questions or like review a blog post or have a Zoom call or just perform some unpaid work for me, Tanya? I just want some free consulting. That's it. No. I have like politely been fielding this question several times per week for like years. And so like, I really look forward to being like, direct yourself to the last question on this page. Like, no, that qualifies under me working for free for a stranger on the internet. Like sometimes I like to volunteer at stuff, but yeah, I get asked, can I just pick your brain for like an hour? Like so many times per week that I wouldn't be able to hold a job. I'm just like, I don't know where these come from. But anyway, so I have like all sorts of different videos. This is a really great face I've got going on here. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then the contact page, as you might imagine, super boring. It's just like, you can email us about the academy. You can email us about the community. If you're having a problem, there's support, training, info. And then you can like follow us in various places, newsletter, etc. It's not like super, I feel like it's what you would imagine a corporate website to like look like, I hope. I feel like it's a huge upgrade from our previous one. I don't know, can you hear the Slack sounds? Because someone has been like slacking me a lot. And I think I'm just gonna quit Slack. Okay, so how did we want to secure WordPress? Because I feel like even though our guest can't make it, I still want to share a bunch of stuff. Okay, good, you can't hear my Slack. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so the first thing with WordPress is you want to use the absolute newest version. That's the number one most important thing. Use the newest version. And for every single plugin you use, you want to use the least number of plugins you can. So one of the plugins that they gave me the list for was dummy data. And they had been using dummy data to show it to me. Well, I like came up with the data that they needed. And so I was like, so I told them, now that we don't need dummy data, could we remove this and remove some of our attack surface? Like minimizing your attack surface, removing every single plugin that you are not using. That is a good thing. Then the next thing is, are we using the latest version of every single one of them? And we went through, and some of them we weren't. So I asked them to update them to the absolute newest version, and we're going to retest, make sure it's okay. Great. Oh, I'm seeing a comment in the chat. James Newton King said he thinks about FAQ as automating his responses to people with questions, and I love that parallel. Yeah, well, that's just it. These are the questions I get all the time. People are like, how do I start an InfoSec? So I just made a really nice video to give them all the best advice that I could that I type out a lot. And I feel like it's like a better quality answer for the person like receiving the answer. And it also like saves me time, so I have more time to do stuff like this. So I'm going to actually write all of this up in a blog post to make sure that, you know, anyone that's doing WordPress can get their, hopefully, security feet wet. So the next thing, so I'm just going to go through because I made them a list. So the next thing is I wanted to disable the account called admin. So every WordPress has a login page for the administrator, and everyone knows where it is. It's not hard to find. What I want to do is have a user not be named admin, because that means they have to guess my username, but they also have to guess the password. And I want to make it as difficult as possible. And so I made up a funky name for my admin user. On top of that, I'm going to have the longest password I can. I'm not going to reuse it anywhere else. It's going to be a unique password for this site, which you should all do for every site. And I'm going to save it in my password manager. And on top of that, I am installing a plugin so that I can use multi-factor authentication. For those who follow me on Twitter, so I bank with like a whole bunch of different banks in Canada because I enjoy distributing my risk. But anyway, Tangerine is one of my banks who I have been hassling for like 3 years now about getting multi-factor. Got multi-factor today. And so obviously I set that up immediately. I'm so happy for them. Thank you, Tangerine Bank. But I want it for WordPress, obviously. So we installed something called WordFence. So WordFence is a plugin. It's $100 a year. It's kind of got a WAF to it, like a basic web app firewall, but that it also has the ability to do multi-factor authentication. And I'm like, yes, I'm just not okay having a login that's live on the internet for one of my crown jewels, just like open to anyone. And so that is like a pretty decent lockdown on the admin page by changing the admin user's name to a different word than admin, having a long unique password that's only used on the site, and then also enabling multi-factor authentication. So that is a pretty sweet deal. But I felt there was like more that we could do. Oh, also we turned on auto updates for WordPress. So then I went through and looked through every single one of the various, how do I explain? I went through every single one of the plugins and looked them up to see if there were any known problems. And some of them had known problems in older versions, so I was like, we must use the latest version. But none of them actually looked super scary, which was great, because that's terrifying. So then I whipped out OWASP Zap and like scanned a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I'm going to scan all the things. And I found out there was a few things that I wasn't in love with. So one, the cookie settings weren't that great, so I wanted to turn on same site, HTTP only, and the secure flag. Because if it's managing my session while I'm logged in as the admin, don't want anyone taking a look at those cookies. Also, forcing HTTPS only secure connections to the wehackpurple.com website. So I said I'd like some security headers. Specifically, I want HSTS. So that is strict transport policy, strict transport security header. And what that does is it forces HTTPS every time. It redirects HTTP requests to the S. So then I also want content security policy header. I want us to list out the resources that are external that we're using. And we are using one external resource, like for some of the framing and prettiness factor. And so I was like, I want us to list that, and I want us to block every other potential group from calling out for scripts, etc. And then I decided that because my website is basically dumb and doesn't really do anything, that I was okay with the rest. Like if someone frames my website, it's fine. It's not a government website. If someone comes to my website, they're usually either just checking it out because they're like, oh, Tanya's doing a thing. Wonder what's up with that. Oh, there's something in the private chat. We are seeing the swag store only. Okay, let me see what's going on with, oh, okay. So, let me reshare my screen so that you can see a bit more. I'm going to, oh, stop screen. I'm going to stop screen and then I'm going to reshare, share screen, share a window. I want to share this window and I'm going to share, there we go. How's that name? How's that, my anonymous sound technician? I'm going to hope that it's okay. So I wanted to make sure that the website stays up. Availability is very important to me. And integrity. So I don't want anyone logging in as the admin user and changing some of the values. Like they could say, Tanya's a big jerk and she smells bad. I would not like that on my company's website. That seems less than ideal for sure. And then confidentiality. There's nothing that needs to remain confidential on this site. It's literally public. Like there's no secret information. I don't want people to be able to log in and change things, but there's no confidentiality on the site. There's nothing private or whatever. If I'm working on a blog post, it's something I'm going to publish in a few minutes anyway. Like all my blog posts pretty much become public unless they're boring. And so I'm not worried about that, but I really want my website to be up often. I don't need 99.999, but I would like 99. I would like it to be up most of the time. And ideally, no one is able to change its contents except me or another employee of We Hack Purple. So that's cool. So then I started looking at more stuff in my scanner. And so I did a bunch of spidering and such, and it found a ton of pages that I felt could be removed. There's a Hello World page. I do not need a Hello World page. There's some sort of Academy banner page. I'm like, nope. Other than the pages that I specifically asked to be developed, I want all the rest of them removed. So risk or threat surface reduction. Okay. So that's a thing we always want to do. Also, there's tons of tags and other things that I thought were unnecessary that are specifically for the blog functionality. So if we go over to blog over here, if anyone has any questions and they want to put them in the chat, just thought I'd let you know that it's cool. So let's look at my secure design article that I wrote. So if we look at the very bottom, it's a long article. I'm obsessed with design. Anyway, we're letting people leave comments. And I don't know about you, but as a woman on the internet, I tend to prefer that there's less is more when it comes to letting strangers anonymously comment on my work. It tends to lead to less than positive outcomes. So I said, do we need this part or can we just like turn it off altogether? Because then we don't have to have any user input at all. There's no parameters in the URL address and there's no other inputs. We don't have a search. It's just tough. You can't find the thing, tough. That's the answer on my webpage, tough. And so we're really limiting stuff if we remove this comment section. And I don't want getting feedback is good. I do enjoy constructive feedback or positive feedback or even constructive negative feedback. But that's not always what you get when you allow people to comment uniquely, let's say. Oh, is that where you host your course content? How are you protecting your paid course content? Oh, that's an excellent question. Thank you. Great question. Okay, so let me show you. So my paid course content is here on the Academy, and this is a SaaS product. This is a software as a service, and it's run by a Canadian company called Thinkific. And I'm actually on Vancouver Island, and they're on the mainland in Vancouver. So it's actually kind of fun because we're neighbors. And they handle all the security for me, which is awesome. They also handle the credit cards. So I actually have no need to be PCI compliant because I never handle credit cards at my company. I third party all of that. I'm totally uninterested in having to do PCI compliance, even though I'm well versed in it because I teach it. So yeah, they do all the protecting for me. You log in and so you can see, look at this. One of the employees sent a thing to Fiverr of me. I'm like, it's so weird. So we have a bit of facts, we have live training, etc. But mostly it's just, you can see all of our courses. You can learn about our certificate of completion. So we're about to have another course on here, hopefully. We also have a scholarship, a diversity scholarship, which I feel like I should probably put a link to. So you can sponsor people to go through the scholarship, or yes, risk transfer. Yes. So dedicated credit card people always seem like a great idea. Risk transfer, 100%. Yeah. So like I advise lots of my clients, unless you have to for your business model, transfer risk to experts who are good at that. Just like so a lot of my clients will transfer their risk to me and I will help them build their AppSec program, or I will, do some instant response, etc. I transfer my risk to Stripe, to PayPal, to Mighty Networks, to all of my third-party companies that are doing my stuff. Oh, why can't we see? Just a second, let me see here. Oh, okay, so I can see it and you can't see it. There we go. So I have pasted that. Oh, it's so weird that you can't see what I am seeing unless I'm looking at it. Okay, well, anyway. That's fine. I'm just going to hide this and go back here. So I have a whole bunch of SaaS products, so software as a service. So this is me, and this is our community.wehackpurple.com is actually just a skin over top of Mighty Networks, which is a really cool online community platform, which I'm a huge fan. It's a huge, giant update and step forward compared to our previous community platform that we were using. This swag shop is built on Shopify, another Canadian company. And they started, I believe, in Ottawa. And I have spent many, many hours in that building because they kindly host the OWASP meetup there. So, and often their AppSec team would come and hang out. And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And so that's cool. And they handle all the payments for us. I don't want to handle any payments. I want someone else to do that. Okay, are there any more questions about this? So my scanner found some results actually. So besides reducing our risk, how do I say this? Besides transferring risk and reducing our threat surface, ensuring everything is updated, having multi-factor authentication, changing the admin name, and then also, what was the last one? Oh, and using a unique password, which you should do for everything ever. I did some scanning, and my scan said that there was potentially some path traversal. There was potentially some injection, but it said it was SQL injection. And honestly, I'm not sure that WordPress, that its database is SQL, in which case I'm not concerned. And also it was in a URL parameter to a page that is not behind authentication. So I'm pretty sure that's a false positive. There is a vulnerable JavaScript library. So it's jQuery, what is it? Let me just check. It's jQuery 3.3.1. And I want 3.3.2, which is the latest one. It's like a medium risk. It's not the end of the world, but I don't want it there. It also saw that my cookies had crappy weak settings. It also saw I was missing HSTS and I was missing content security policy header. And then that was it. Everything else, the scanner was really happy. I didn't want to do too much punching in the face of the site though, because quite frankly, it's just in dev and I wanted to be kind of gentle until they fix all of this. And so I'm not sure how much more security testing I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that I do a backup that is in the cloud, that is not in the same place as my live production server, because that's useless. And other than that, I think I'm pretty good. I think all my stuff is going well. So I'm pleased about securing my WordPress. So I looked up all of my plugins. I made sure that none of them had outstanding security issues. I made sure that they're all up to date, and then ran a scanner to see if there's anything flagrantly wrong. Ideally, because the WordPress, the administrative module of WordPress has been pen tested, because WordPress itself, the core, if it is kept up to date and properly hardened, should be quite good. So the next steps are for them to fix all the stuff I found, and then I will be logging in and verifying that we followed the hardening guide. I'm going to check the configuration on WordPress, and then I think I'm probably going to be awesome. Does anyone have any things that they would like to add to that? Or any questions? Because otherwise, then I'm going to answer the cheese question. For people who watch this podcast regularly, I'm going to stop sharing. So stop sharing. There we go. Hi. People who listen to this regularly, we talk a lot about careers, about how much people make, and we want to know what it's like to be able to get certain types of work, what our career progression is going to be like. So I want to talk about working in application security. If you get a junior role in application security, it usually makes in Canada either 80,000 to 100,000. Easily in a junior position, you could be walking into a six-figure job to start. There are very, very few people that are qualified to work in application security, which is a problem We Hack Purple is working really, really hard at attempting to solve or make better, ameliorate, let's say. I found my job by being a dev first, finding a professional mentor, having him guide me into penetration testing, learning on my own, watching tons of videos, attending OWASP conferences and meetups, and then figuring out that what I actually loved was application security, not pen testing. I still do security testing, but I wouldn't call myself a pen tester. I focus on enabling software developers to do an amazing job of creating hard, tough, rugged, secure applications. AppSec pays well. It pays well. I have not made under six figures in a very long time. Last year, though, as a startup founder, I did make under six figures for the first time in over a decade. And I mean, I did reinvest money into my company over and over again, and that's why. I actually, when I looked at the numbers, how much money my startup made and how much I made personally, like on the side, just doing consulting and stuff, I actually made almost as much as I had made at Microsoft the year I left. And the year I left, I cashed out all of my stocks. So I actually made more than I made at Microsoft my first year starting my company, and I didn't start my company until 3 months in. So it turns out that's pretty good. A lot of people don't share information like this. Like, I am just constantly reinvesting into my company. And I'm doing this because I feel that, one, creating more application security engineers is really important. I really, really believe this. I also want to make just security knowledge more accessible. By making on-demand courses, what I'm trying to do is lower the price and make it so that anyone can take it. By adding closed captioning, by making sure that there's an article people can read, but also a video people can watch, but also audio people can listen. Doing multiple different formats to try to teach the same thing is, again, making it more accessible. By writing Alice and Bobbler in application security, this is, again, another format where I'm trying to make this information affordable and accessible to as many human beings as possible. Previously, lots of people would fly around the world teaching this stuff in person. We're keeping all of this information really close to our chest. I don't think we're going to win this way. And by win, I mean be able to surf the internet and be safe. I was watching this television show called The Expanse. So I am obsessed with the Expanse book series, and obviously the TV show can never be as good as the book. But they have their hand terminals, which are like our cell phones now. And they do all these things. And there's this thing that they do where someone will be reading an article and they do this motion and it sends it to another person's screen. Now, I was watching it with someone who is not a computer scientist, and they're like, why can't we do that? And I said, because we literally can't do the most basic things securely, reliably. The more advanced the technology becomes, if we still can't even get the basics right, when we're doing big things like this, it becomes very, very scary. And I want everyone to know the basics. I want us to teach this in university. I want this to be accessible to as many human beings as possible. This is another reason actually why we started the We Hack Purple sponsorship, like diversity sponsorship. I did that specifically because I want as many human beings as possible to be able to join our field, but also because I don't want tech to be exclusive to white males that could afford to go to university. I don't want it to just be mostly men or mostly white people or mostly people that can afford to go to advanced education, etc. I grew up poor. I grew up a girl, and I'm lucky because I came from a family where all the women are engineers and computer scientists. Both my aunts are computer scientists. My mom's a mathematician chemist. This is super unusual. So when I was young and I was like, I think I want to be a programmer, they're like, yeah, of course you do. But the average little girl does not get that exposure, does not get that approval, does not get those gentle influences to say you can do that. And so this is a thing that's important to me. I know I'm ranting, but I want every single person to be able to work in security if they want to. And by making things on demand on my website, I know that it's not free. I can't afford to give it away for free. I am not making money on the company. All my money just goes back in. But it's because this is important to me and it matters to me. And I believe it matters to our industry, and I believe it matters to our world that we protect the people that need protecting. Okay, so I have talked enough. I feel like that's lots. I want to thank our sponsor, ThreadFix. They make, honestly, I love their vulnerability management tool. I'm not going to say that about every single sponsor that we have, but I've used it. It's beautiful. It does the things I desire. I want to manage vulnerabilities. I don't want us to hire a pen tester, have them come in, see some problems, and then not fix them. And so they let you see what's going on. They let you see patterns. They let you see trends and help you do a better security program overall. I want to thank the We Hack Purple team. I want to thank my sound tech. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank every single member of the We Hack Purple community, every person that's attended our academy, even the free courses. This is you giving me your time and attention. Right now with the pandemic, there's so much crap going on. There are so few people who want to tune into a computer screen for another minute, and you thinking that I am worth it and worth your time and effort, I really, really appreciate that. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for attending the We Hack Purple podcast. Next week, we have my friend Zenobia on, and she's going to talk about, yes, she's so amazing. We're going to talk about all sorts of things that she has learned by like starting her own company. So she does marketing, but in cyber specifically. So I could actually stand to learn a lot from her. She is an amazing human being. We have a lot of amazing guests coming up. We are currently planning for season 2. And I think it's going to be Teach Me Something Security, where I'm going to ask guests to teach me a specific thing. And I always have 10,000 questions. So prepare for me being inquisitive, me turning things on their head, me being annoying about things that I have questions about. We are going to continue with more sponsors. We're going to continue releasing more courses. We're going to continue having cute lady hoodies and other adorable swag. Thank you so much for being a part of We Hack Purple. Please go forth and secure all the things.